My name is Gabrielle Hawker. This is task 5.7, interview practice for my Career Foundry Data Immersion course. Question 1 asks, what does the CRISP-DM methodology for data mining entail? What does the data analyst do in each step? So the CRISP-DM methodology is comprised of 6 parts in order. First is business understanding, second is data understanding, third is data preparation, fourth is modeling, fifth is evaluation, and sixth is development. So the first one, business understanding, is about just understanding what the company needs, what their goals are. Data understanding involves gathering the data and checking its quality. Data preparation is where you clean and prep the data for the upcoming analysis. The modeling is where you'll decide which model you'll apply for your data set, and the evaluation is when you check to make sure your model is aligning with business goals back at step 1, because you don't want to get off track. Finally, deployment is when it's all ready to go and you send it out. Question 2 asks, explain what needs to be done before you can forecast time series. In other words, what does time series analysis involve? Time series analysis first requires there to be historical data. It needs to be collected, checked for accuracy, and cleaned. You also need to understand your data, determine the stationarity, the autocorrelation, and the seasonality. Once you understand those and the data is ready, you choose the method you want to use for your forecast, whether that's a weighted average, simple linear regression, or whatever method best suits the business goals. Question 3 is, discuss the main principles of data ethics, as well as what companies or organizations could do to uphold these principles. So the 4 main principles of data ethics are privacy, transparency, accountability, and equality. Privacy refers to the laws and policies that determine how an entity can collect, handle, and store data. And it's based on the idea that people should be able to control what happens to their own personal data. Like, I don't want some random guy out with my social security number. And I have a right to make sure that it's not floating around without my knowledge or consent. Transparency describes how honest and clear an entity is with what data they're using and how. If someone downloads an app, that app should describe how the data they collect is used. Accountability is an organization's responsibility to safeguard the data that they collect. And equality means that an organization needs to avoid discrimination when handling their data. For example, I, as a woman, some people might discriminate against that fact. Not everyone would. Some people might. Equality is ensuring that that doesn't happen. Or at least an entity, the organization, doing their best to make sure that it doesn't. Question 4 says, imagine you're an analyst at a financial services company and you have some concerns about bias in a way a predictive model was measured. How would you raise your concerns with your manager? Make some suggestions for how to avoid measurement bias in the future. So the first thing that I would want to do is I would address this concern in a way, I would ensure that there's a written record so that my manager or whoever is involved can refer back to it and look and see, yes, this was addressed. I would describe the details of the issue itself, talk about why I think it's an issue, and provide whatever feedback I think is relevant or important. I would also have a verbal conversation with them because a lot of times written records, they can get lost among all sorts of correspondences. So if I have a verbal conversation with them as well as having that written record, we know this has been addressed, the problem is known, and we can find a way to fix it. And because they're able to refer back to that again, they can see in future projects, this was an issue before. So how do we avoid repeating it? The 5th and final question asks, explain the difference between regression and classification models in predictive analysis. When would you use one of these models over the other? A regression model shows how variables affect each other in a quantitative context, looking at the numbers. For example, if higher candy sales also meant higher toothpaste sales, they follow each other. A classification model, on the other hand, is used to predict what category an entity will fall into based on predefined features. Do I think that this customer will buy candy or will they buy toothpaste? So one is they're related, the other is they're separated based off of whatever variables is relevant to the analysis. Once again, this has been task 5.7 of my data immersion course at Career Foundry. Thank you for your time.